I made $10,000 worth of Apple products using only paper. I only have 2 days to complete this challenge because I need time to edit this video, so we gotta go quick. So here's the rules. 1. I must make a 3D version of every Apple product. So no drawing an iPad on a piece of paper and calling it a day. 2. No making duplicate Apple products. 3. I don't need to make any boxes or packaging because the product is what makes its worth. And 4. The value of all Apple products combined must be at least $10,000 and will be determined online. Let's get right in with the first Apple product. Using a notebook as a safety guard for my Surface, I'm marking the dimensions of the device, which appears to be slightly smaller than the size of a full-sized A4 paper. I'm feeling optimistic about this first creation, considering I was definitely an iPad kid back then. Don't bully me please, thanks. I'm gonna have to make a duplicate of this for the front and the back of the iPad, and after drawing the outline for the screen, there's a mini dilemma that we had to face, and it's that the color of the black screen is slightly darker than the black on the border. Why do I care? Because I said so. So we're going to conduct a test between 2 of my Sharpie markers and see which one is darker. Okay, you probably think I'm crazy, but just trust me here. The brush tip is slightly darker than the fine tip. So as such, the black screen is getting the brush tip and the border is getting the fine point. Did they look any different in the end? Well, no, not really. But at least I finished the front off with its front camera. Turning our attention to the back side, here I go, wasting my gray pen for the sake of turning this entire paper gray. I added the Apple logo and any extra embellishments to connect the 2 pieces together. Then I'm using several thin paper strips to give the paper iPad its 3D shape. Now here's a very important question I have for you guys that I want you to answer in the comments. Team Apple or Team Samsung, and why? I was Team Samsung for most of my life until I realized how much I used my family's iPad during my childhood. To give the iPad some volume, I'm stuffing tissue paper on the inside and sealing the edge shut. Let's set this aside over here. My designated Apple product table. Now the more important question here, what's its value? According to the Apple website, the 11-inch iPad Air is $599. Now I could be sneaky and declare this iPad Air to have 1 TB of storage. I mean, obviously you can't tell a product's storage solely based on its size, so I'm well within the rules to do so, but we'll see if I start to get tired of making paper Apple products. But for now, $599 is added to our receipt. Lucky for me, I have already made one in one of my old videos. I believe this is an iPhone 15 due to the lens. You can tell I've been Team Samsung for practically my entire life. Oh my god, why is there a gaping hole at the bottom? Anyways, the iPhone 15 is said to have been $999 at its retail price, so $999 added to our receipt, giving us a total of $1,598 so far. Now, to maximize the price of our pre-production labor, wow, this is the one time I ever want to purposely make things unnecessarily expensive, I'm making a 24-karat gold Apple Watch with polished link bracelet series 7 with a whopping price of $1,999 according to this eBay listing. This is a limited edition run and was one of the only listing prices for this product that I could find. Anyways, since we know the price, we gotta make this luxurious. I'm building the core watch mechanism attached by 2 wristbands on opposite ends. For some reason, I chose to use index cards. Don't worry, I have a lot of these. To make this look expensive, I'm taking this metallic gold paint and dolloping it on my paint palette and brushing it onto the watch with a sponge. For the sides, I'm using a tip to carefully apply the gold paint onto the sides of the watch. It would have been nice for this to be acrylic paint because acrylic paint dries faster than fabric paint, which was what I was using. But I digress. Let's also paint the back and set this to dry. In the meantime, let's work on making our 4th Apple product. Proportionally speaking, any MacBook out there is most likely larger than any iPad I've seen, so our base paper needs to be much larger than this. There we go. And we need to make 4 of these. Thanks, transition. Now, looking at my first Apple creation, this gray is looking a little bit flat and almost wiped out my marker, so I decided to go the route of metallic and paint the 4 pages with a thin coat. Update my drawing station. Well, that was 2 hours out the window, but trust me, the worst was yet to come. I had to first trim off the excess because the paper dimensions didn't look quite right. But also, I had to painstakingly draw the mouse pad and the keyboard. I could have went the easy route and printed out an image of a keyboard, cut it out, and paste it on here, but nope. Prime example of working harder and not smarter, and on a good way. I also had to go back in with a white pen to fill in all of the keycaps, so that was a blast. Rounding off the edges, and the next paper is just the bottom of the MacBook Pro. I think nothing too interesting here, so we can move on. So my last two papers finally dried. The first one is deserving of the Apple logo. Can't say the same for the other one because dumb me forgot that the side of the MacBook with the screen was black. I hate myself. It's okay. Just had to flip the paper over and start anew. If I'm being honest with myself here, I think I'm the definition of inconsistency, because why did I decide to color a black screen on my iPad Air, then proceed to draw a full-blown landscape on this one? Why do I have to make my life unnecessarily difficult? I had a limited color palette, plus these markers are obviously not going to blend. Oh my goodness, I don't even want to show you the results. Or you know what? Fine. Here's one peek at my final drawing. Just one. And this is my reference picture. Yeah, be quiet. You know what, in life, sometimes the big picture is what matters the most, and that is what this tape transition is telling you all. Adding an extra support on the binding of the two panels, and now we can add our MacBook to our collection of paper Apple products. But for cost, we can look at the Apple website and see that it's $1,599. Honestly though, I'm starting to get a bit fatigued by all this crafting. It's been a day at this point, so maybe we can up its price by choosing 24 gigabytes of unified memory and 1 TB storage just to bring us at $1,999. I think that's fair game. Okay, so I have two final Apple products that I've made in my previous videos. Don't hate me for this, please. But I have the AirPods Pro 3, which is $130, and the AirPod Max, which is $549. Can we neglect its size, please? With these two added to our receipt, our total is now over $4,000. At this point, our Apple Watch is now dry, and we can now cut the strips to make the ends slide into each other. In reality, Apple Watch straps are not secured by sliding the two ends together, but this was the most convenient method for it to wrap around my wrist. I'm finally adding in the grooves on the straps using another gold marker, and with that, here's our 24K gold Apple Watch. Set that on our MacBook, and $1,999 added to our total. Wait, $6,000? That's it? Well, I had to do some real intense Apple product research, and I ultimately decided on the Mac Studio, which retails for $3,999. Holy crap, that's a lot, and would actually make me want to crap my pants if I were coerced into buying it. But making this will bring our total over the 10K goal. I'm using the silver-coated paper I pre-made while prepping the papers for the MacBook and drawing the necessary details for the front and back faces. To be honest, I had no clue about the Mac Studio until I filmed this video, so it was cool to learn about an Apple product I was not familiar with. FYI, this isn't a product for the average Mac user, so yeah, just putting that out there. With a very fine-tip pen, I'm emulating the engraving of the word Mac Studio, and man, did I dot this thing to oblivion. Next, I'm taking a long strip of silver paper, dotting until my hands needed to tap out, but eventually all this work was worth it because here is the final product. As I mentioned before, without compromising size, this 32-core neural engine Mac Studio cost $3,999, so adding that to our receipt gives us a grand total of $10,274. Thus, we have completed our challenge. If I'm being honest, I originally wanted to do a 100K value paper Apple product challenge, but I barely made it past 10K, and it took me 2 days to make all the products, not even including me not making any of the boxes. So yeah, thank goodness I changed my mind. Let me know if you guys would like to see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Meepyblues out.